Thank you very much. Very difficult to talk with the finance minister in front because he's so deeply involved in everything that's happening and so much more he knows. 2-3 boxes. Let me first talk about the PDS question box that was raised because it's close to my heart. Tamil Nadu is one of the best PDS delivery systems in the whole country. The best. You can ask every ration card holder whether he has got his ration and everybody will say yes. You're talking about leakages, okay. The point made about subsidies is a very valid point, but you're talking about leakages. Please think that if your driver is not taking his free ration from the ration shop, and the ration shop sells it for 5 rupees to a thelawala, and that thelawala is able to make idlis and sell it to the auto rickshaw driver, and that idli is being sold on the street for 5 to 6 rupees. I mean, personally, I would say, what's wrong with it? That rice is getting consumed by the lowest capable people who are perhaps out-of-station workers, who don't have a ration card. Food is not wasted in this country. Food is never wasted. Food is consumed. And any amount of subsidy, indirect subsidy, tertiary subsidy, fourth level subsidy, which reaches food to the lowest level people, I think it's a cost, direct cost, indirect cost. I am not arguing for corruption or anything like that. I am just saying that it reaches. But the FM's point about oil and the tur dal is definitely very valid, because if you are not able to deliver some things which is 300 to 400% the market price, and that's getting leaked, that's serious. But I will not talk about cereals, because I come from a background, when I joined service, the country's production was 73 million tons. And one of my first jobs was to make sure that the rice was delivered to the PDS shops. It was coming shipped to shops at that time. There was such a shortage. Today we have this year we'll have 338 million tons of cereals. 338 million tons of cereals is almost equal to, little less actually, 1 ton of rice and wheat for every family in a year. You can't eat 1 ton of rice. We have become one of the biggest rice and wheat exporting countries in the last 50-60 years. When I joined service, the population was 40-45 crores. We are today 140 crores, in spite of that. So don't, I would say, and the Right to Food Act, the large number, the midday meal scheme, for example, are all ensuring that food gets delivered. But in spite of that, when I see numbers that for the hunger index we are among the lowest, that means again, as FM correctly said, that somewhere the system is breaking down. It's not for lack of availability. It's the lack of the process, the logistics of the system, that the system is breaking down. And every government, and most especially this government, I had the honor of serving very closely with the present Chief Minister's father for many years, very closely. And I could see the kind of detail to which he was watching every day. Morning 6 o'clock he would phone me and say, "Hey, did you see this news in the newspaper?" And 6 o'clock I have not even brushed my teeth or had my coffee. So I said, "Sir, I'll come and see you at 10 o'clock. And I see that kind of detail in this government, the ability to recognize the problem of the last man and try to do something about it. And it is very, very true that the system has become a little lethargic. And this government is doing all that it can to push it into a faster speed. Let me go on. This is, I would say, a bit of a reminiscence, but let me go on a different track. If you look back, where are we good and where are we lacking? I talk about Tamil Nadu, definitely is doing very much better than many other states. But even if you look at all India, the kind of achievements, I talked about the food sector, but in every sector, if you look back, if somebody is worth 2 lakh, an individual is worth 2 lakh crores of rupees, that 2 lakh crores of rupees has been generated in India. Right from the beginning, we took a decision that we will not grow by foreign capital. We may take aid from international institutions, but we will not grow by foreign capital investing here. We will create our own capital. And in 75 years, this 3 trillion public money, plus all the private money that you are talking about, has grown out of India. It's something we have to be very proud of. You forget the scams, forget the leakages, finally the money comes back. Somebody, if you steal money, what are you going to do with it? You're not going to eat it. You're going to put back into business. How much will you take it out of India? Finally, you have to come back here into assets, into business, into growth. Therefore, a lot of things in the last 75 years we have to be very proud of as Indians, and often we criticize. We miss out the good points when we look at where we are. Today, 48-50% of Tamil Nadu students go to tertiary education. Okay, only 4% are below the poverty line. Tamil Nadu. Nearly 48% are below the poverty line in Bihar. So we have done a lot of things right. We have done a lot of things right to be able to reach here. Where are we lacking? And this is going to cause problems in the next 10 years or so. One major issue, Finance Minister already pointed out. Level of education. From I would say last 40-50 years, we have been pushing universalization of education. More schools, more private schools, more engineering colleges, more tertiary institutions. But we have not been pushing quality. So therefore, the level of IT work, even IT work, all of you will agree, the level of IT work being done in this state, the quality of IT work being done in this state is lower than what is being done in Bangalore or Hyderabad. All cutting edge R&D and discovery is happening there. If you have 100 startups here, they have 1,000 startups in Bangalore. Senior CEOs are unwilling to relocate to Chennai, to Tamil Nadu. And the main reason is that the quality level talent is missing here. And it is missing here because of, I would say, lack of quality education. If you think about, let's say, Madurai city, and you want to put your child into a top-class school, I think you can number the number of top-class schools in your fingers in the city. Why? Why is it we do not have more cutting-edge schools? Government, private, doesn't matter. Which will prepare you for the next generation. Why am I telling it to this audience? Because please understand, this cannot be government's concern. Government concern is to make sure that the last person has a livelihood. That person who is averagely educated is able to move from I would say a lower middle class rural area into a middle class upbringing. That he is able to have a house, a family, a child in school, etc. But this mass, this kind of, for example, the government has signed a huge MOU with some Taiwanese firms which will be manufacturing shoes, Nike shoes, in small tertiary towns, 3 locations. Each one will be employing nearly 20,000 people, but 20,000 women. But please look at the same job 10 years later. These jobs will not exist. These jobs will not exist because that kind of a manpower requirement will no longer be there. Are we ready for the next leap? And this is, as I said, this cannot be the government's priority, because government priority is to make availability for all, not to categorize this. But if all of you entrepreneurs, people who are looking at a generation through 25, 30 years ahead, if you don't look at the next step. You see, in Malaysia, 2-3 years back when the COVID came, they set up an organization called MIDA, M-I-D-A, Industry Development Association. The task of that association was to remove Malaysia from the mass manufacturing jobs into higher end technological job. Today, in 2 to 3 years, they have been able to attract a substantial portion of the companies which moved out of China into Malaysia, of course some into Vietnam, into Malaysia. And if you actually look at the value added in exports, just look at the data of the value added in exports in Malaysia last 3 years compared to what it was for the last 10 years, you will see the sharp spike, because there has been a technological evolution that has happened in Malaysia to move the entire country to the next level of technological manufacture. I plead this at every occasion because I see this for a state which has everything, which has a base, which has a urbanization, which has infrastructure, for a state which has everything. I see this as the next big challenge that's going to come in kind of front of us. Let us look at the overall picture, the question that you asked. Tamil Nadu certainly, and India overall, is much better placed in the kind of headwinds that are coming. Okay, what are the simple signals? Look at the financial markets. Look at the second quarter results of all the major companies. The costs are high, but EBITDA is high also. Look at the stock markets, how they are behaving. Look at the kind of foreign inflows that are coming in. That shows that there is belief in the economy. What is missing? What is missing is private capital investment. Private capital investment is still hesitant. Many big companies are having huge money surpluses which they are parking in the market instead of putting it back into business. So, confidence in the ability of the Indian economy to grow is inadequate, whereas results are in front that it is actually growing. During now, November 15th to let's say December, end of December, in the Delhi, Rajasthan region alone, there will be 2.25 lakh crores spent on weddings alone. Okay? There's a shortage of horses for bringing the bridegrooms to the wedding. All right? Horses are coming in from elsewhere to meet this gap. So there is consumption. There is consumption that is happening. The consumers are willing to spend. Hotel charges are up. Travel is up. But investors are staying back. Investors are staying back because they are not sure whether this is a flash in the pan because of the COVID or whether it will sustain. And therefore, they don't want to do long-term investment. Again, this is an area of confidence which the government cannot do very much about. But I have been an optimist all my life, and I have seen the country grow from this to what we are today. And once the investor confidence comes back, and I can tell you 5 areas, 6 areas where we are going to absolutely boom. When the investor comes back, there's not going to be any stopping. India, there's not going to be any stopping of India. And I would like Tamil Nadu to be right ahead in front of wherever India is going. Last 2 thoughts. I don't know how many of you heard Mr. Narayan speech a couple of days back. More or less he said similar things. He said R&D. R&D is in a very, very poor shape in India. I'll give you one public example. 20 years ago in China, when Mr. Hu Jintao was the leader, the CPC, the Central Communist Committee, 9 people, 6 were material engineers, were mechanical material science engineers. In those 15 years, they developed the capability of materials, whether it is for aircraft, for plastics, whatever it is. Now, the composition of the CPC is totally different. This year's central party, if you look at the composition of this, these are all military strategies. They are planning something very different for the next 10 years. But forget this. Today we have 6,000 crores of defense offset products waiting to come in to Tamil Nadu, particularly Tamil Nadu. There are big companies like Dassault Systems, like Airbus, like Boeing, who have to create the offset, otherwise they have to pay Government of India a lot of money. There are engineering organizations who are willing, who are ready to do those offset parts, but all the materials have to be imported. Why are our mechanical engineering and material skills so poor? Can we not set up I mean, this is just one thought. Can we not set up one R&D lab just focusing on creating cutting-edge materials for the next generation? And even this does not anymore require 3 years, 5 years research. There's a startup out there, I don't want to mention names, who can use AI and who can use, suppose you want a product, let's say at 200 degrees, it will heat up to 200 degrees, after that it will not change its composition. They can give you 3 chemical compositions of products which will do that. And all you have to do is to just try it out and manufacture it. Today, if you just go into HAL, they are begging for people to come and take offset these things. But those materials are not becoming available. There are so many things that we are missing out. Mr. Secretary-Govt Das in RBI is saying that he wants to introduce the cryptocurrency here. Why can't Tamil Nadu be the mining location for cryptocurrencies? Why should it go to any other state? Why can't that entire activity be done here? So this is I would say this is the future generation. We belong to the past generation. This is the future generation where I am really appealing that the time has come. Those of you who had read Thomas Kuhn will say his famous article is called The Theory of Scientific Revolutions. So Thomas Kuhn, this is a time for what is a paradigm shift in the way in which we approach development. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Class 3 to 5, this is Illam Thedi Kalvi, Chinna Kulandaiyalukku. Adutha initiative which has started is called Ennum Azhutham. Ennum Azhutham program eppadina class 3 lirundhu 8. On the class children are falling behind. Everybody doesn't learn at the same level. And the குழந்தைகளுக்கு separate textbook to allow them to catch up. So that ஒரு 8ஆம் கிளாஸ் வர்றதுக்குள்ள அவங்க 8th level அந்த அளவுக்கான அறிவு level they should reach அப்படிங்கிற program இப்போ தான் ஒரு டிஸ்ட்ரிக்ட்லேயும் அதுக்கான எனுமரேட்டர்ஸ் இன்ட்ரடியூஸ் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. அது அடுத்த லெவல். நீங்கள் அடுத்த டெர்ஷரி லெவல் போகும்பொழுது there is a problem. The problem is partly historical. That is private educational institutions நாம் ஓரளவு அதிக அளவுக்கு மல்டிப்ளை பண்ண விட்டுட்டோம். அதுக்கு ஒரு காரணம் இருந்தது. பிகாஸ் அந்த நேரத்தில் கவர்மெண்ட் காலேஜஸ் இல்லை, பசங்க படிக்கணும், ஆப்பர்ச்சுனிட்டிஸ் கொடுக்கணும், அதுக்காக அலோவ் பண்ணிட்டோம். ஸோ நாம் ஓரளவு இப்போ இன்றைக்கி ஐஐடியில் உள்ள ரிசர்ச் அண்ட் சென்னை ஐஐடியில் உள்ள ரிசர்ச் அண்ட் அவுட்புட் இஸ் 10 times higher than what is available even in Gindi. அதே நம்ம ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ் தான் எதிர்க்க படிக்கிறாங்க அந்த காம்பவுண்டுக்குள்ளே அந்த காம்பவுண்டுக்கு வெளியே. ஸோ we have to tackle this. The only way to do it is to focus on R&D. Educational institutions must produce R&D, and R&D must be useful for industry. So industry, educational institutions, collaboration. நீங்கள் போய் இது எனக்கு வேணும், இது have to find this property for me, இதை செஞ்சு காட்டணும். அவங்க government should come in with some kind of a R&D support. சரி நீங்கள் செய்யுங்க, இந்த இண்டஸ்ட்ரிக்காக செய்யுங்க, நான் சப்போர்ட் பண்ணுறேன். I will pay for your R&D cost. அந்த மாதிரி வரும்பொழுது தான் அதனுடைய தரன் உயரும். பட் ஆன் த அதர் சைட், ப்ளீஸ் லுக் அட் யுவர் செல்ஃப். ஹவு மெனி ஸ்டார்ட் அப்ஸ் ஆஃப் யூ ஆர் ஹியர்? நீங்கள் தனியாக இறங்கி ஆண்டர்ப்ரனியர்ஷிப்பில் இறங்கும் பொழுது இதே எஜுகேஷன் பேக்ரவுண்டில் தான் இறங்கியிருக்கீங்க. இறங்கிட்டு யூ ஆர் ரீடிஸ்கவரிங் அண்ட் இம்ப்ரூவிங் அவர் செல்ஃப் டே டு டே. தெர் இஸ் நோ ஆல்டர்னேட்டிவ் டு திஸ் பிகாஸ் யூ ஆர் ஃபேஸிங் ரியல் லைஃப் எவ்ரி டே. ஸோ இந்த மாதிரி பல முனையில் தான் இந்த அப்ரோச் பண்ணும்.
இன்னும் ஒரு சஜஷன் இல்லாட்டி ஃபீட்பேக் ஏதாச்சும் ரெக்வெஸ்ட் கூட வச்சுக்கோங்க. இப்போ இனோவேஷன் இதை பற்றியெல்லாம் நம்ம சொல்கிறப்ப பார்த்தோன்னா ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் லேர்னிங் டிசபிலிட்டின்னு சில பீப்புளுக்கு இருக்கும், எஸ்பெஷலி ஸ்கூல் ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸ்ட்டு அதை பார்க்க முடியும். அந்த மாதிரி இருக்கவங்க இனோவேஷன்ஸ்லேயும் இந்த மாதிரி R&Dலையும் நல்ல ஒரு ஷைனிங்காக இருப்பாங்கன்னு சொல்லி நானும் பார்த்துருக்கேன். ஏன்னா பிகாஸ் மீ ஸ்பெசிஃபிக்கலி பீயிங்ஸ் வித் அ பர்சன் ஹூ இஸ் ஹேவிங் ஸ்பெசிஃபிக் லேர்னிங் டிசபிலிட்டி. இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கவங்க நிறைய இனோவேஷன் பண்ணியிருக்காங்க. ஈவன் என்னோட பர்சனல் லைஃப்பில் நானும் நிறைய ட்ரை பண்ணிகிட்ருக்கேன், அச்சீவ் பண்ணியிருக்கேன் சில விஷயங்களில். இந்த மாதிரி இருக்கவங்களுக்கு கவர்மெண்ட் சைட்லேருந்து சில ரிசர்வேஷன்ஸ் இருக்குது. அது மட்டும் இல்லாமல் வந்து பெஞ்ச் பேக் டிசபிலிட்டிஸ்க்கான ஒரு கவர்மெண்ட்டில் வேலை பார்க்குறதுக்கான இதெல்லாம் இருக்குது. மற்றபடிக்கு அவங்கள அப்லூட் பண்ணுறதுக்கு, அவங்களோட டேலண்ட் R&D வைஸ் அவங்கள ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணி அவங்கள ஃபோக்கஸ் பண்ணுறதுக்கு ஒரு டிஃப்ரெண்ட்டாக அவங்களுக்குலாம் வந்து நிறைய ஹெல்ப் பண்ணுற மாதிரி எதுவும் இல்லை. அந்த மாதிரி நீங்கள் ஏதாச்சும் கொஞ்சம் ஹெல்ப் பண்ணிங்கன்னா, சின்ஸ் யூ பீயிங் க்ளோசர் வித் கவர்மெண்ட் அண்ட் யூ ஆர் இன்ட்ராக்டிங் வித் கவர்மெண்ட், ஐ எம் ரிக்வெஸ்டிங் யூ டு ஃபோக்கஸ் ஆன் தட் ப்ளீஸ்.
Thank you. I take that suggestion.